classic meme of it could have been an email, or ideally not even that.
Yeah, just don't speak to me.
Hello and welcome to Off Script by Hey Radio, a podcast for the tech community. My name is Josh Nesbitt and I run a software consultancy called Stac based in Leeds, as well as the Hey events and conferences. I'm joined today by my co-host James Hall, who runs an agency called Parallax, also based in Leeds. Today we're going to be talking about productivity and mental health.
Hi Josh, how's your week going?
All right, thanks. It's been a bit of an interesting one. Obviously, it's getting darker, isn't it? So
it is.
It's definitely getting harder to be motivated, I feel. I don't know about you.
Yeah, it's as it gets closer to winter, everyone sort of loses motivation a little bit, don't they?
Yeah.
Close to Christmas, rather. But yeah,
definitely. I think getting up in the mornings is definitely harder. I think, like you, I'm trying to keep fit, and getting up when it's still dark and rainy, it's not a motivator, is it?
No, it's not. I was up early this morning doing PT. I think for you as well.
Oh yeah. I was just before you actually. So we're trying to get fit, aren't we?
Well, yeah, just enough to keep me alive, I think.
Yeah. So interesting, that leads on to the kind of topic for today, which is productivity and mental health. And the thing that kind of spurred me on to talk about this topic was kind of burnout and productivity. So, burnout when you're unproductive can be quite difficult to spot, I think. That feeling of, how can I be burnt out when I don't really feel like I'm being valuable, particularly with the effect of the pandemic and obviously everything. I know I keep going on about it, but it has had an impact.
And I think working from home, a lot less face time with people. I think that affects people quite a lot as well. Yeah, definitely.
I mean, I know we touched on it last time when we talked about leadership, but that window into people's lives and kind of what they're going through is more evident than ever before, really.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I guess, how do you keep the mental energy high when you feel invaluable or when you feel unproductive?
So I'm possibly a little bit unusual, but I quite like time boxing everything.
Yeah.
I quite like the Pomodoro technique.
Yes.
I find I get energy from lots of little deadlines, almost. Like, it's basically where you have either 15 minutes on and then a few minutes off.
Yeah.
And I feel like if I'm ticking things off in those little small increments, I feel like I can start to make progress, and that gets my day going.
Yeah.
Also, being more manager-y, I end up in lots of meetings, so I have to find tasks that fit within pockets of time between meetings.
Yeah. Whereas
when I was more programmer, you'd want large chunks of time to sort of do stuff. Yeah. But yeah, it's tricky, isn't it? For me, the checklist and ticking things off gets me going.
I think it's I know what you mean. I've always had a to-do list as well, and it's, I don't know if it's kind of like an artificial thing. I don't think it is. It's kind of that reward of ticking something off, isn't it? But I've always had a to-do list, and I've moved about through every app possible to find the right to-do list.
Yeah. Oh, what are you using at the moment?
I'm using Things again.
I'm back on Things.
Yeah. I started with Things, and then they kind of they messed about a bit with trying to get the cloud sync functionality. They took ages and didn't really update the app that well. Yeah. So I moved to Asana, which was great, but then they went down this whole team route, so try and collaborate on to-do lists with your teams.
Yeah.
And obviously I'm a one-man band. So.
Yeah, and they were going after Jira and Delight, weren't they?
Yeah. So I started seeing all these like Jira kind of style workflows in my to-do list, and I had to abandon Asana and go back to Things.
Yeah, I love Things. It
polished.
Feels very Mac-y. It's got a nice slick Mac app and an iPhone app and stuff, hasn't it?
And you can, and most importantly, it works offline. So I always had little things like in the supermarket with shopping lists.
Yeah.
I couldn't see what I needed to get. Little things.
Which is not ideal.
No, especially in the Tesco's near me, because it's a black box. I think there's a Faraday cage around the whole of the building or something.
When you're trying to keep your 2 metre distance from everyone as well.
Yeah, it's difficult. With a mask on, my glasses are misted up. It's terrible.
Did that contribute to your poor mental health, do you think?
It absolutely did. It took me into a downward spiral, to be honest. It was quite a stressful scenario. But no, on a serious note, it is hard, I think. So, when you're at work and you might be feeling unproductive, I think that itself is mentally exhausting, which can lead to that feeling of burnout, and it's quite a difficult cyclical thing, I think.
Yeah, it is. And I think we've mentioned this in the past, but like some tasks don't feel productive by their nature, like replying to emails and stuff. It just feels like
it's not work, is it?
Getting through like the slog of stuff that you've got to get through.
Yeah.
It's not like when you write a line of code and you're like, oh, that does a cool thing. And you actually feel like you've accomplished something.
An input is an output. And I think we said this you were leaving after we'd recorded the last podcast actually. And, I was like, what's your day looking like? You're like, oh, mostly meetings today. You're like, I'd love to get some work done. I was like, that is work.
Yeah.
You are at work in a meeting.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. It doesn't feel like work sometimes, though. It feels like sometimes you have meetings for meeting's sake, and it doesn't feel very productive.
Yeah, I guess that discipline around whether the classic meme of it could have been an email, or ideally not even that.
Yeah. Just don't speak to me.
It's really weird. James has been quite cagey at work lately. Yeah. I do think as well, social media is quite bad for this. In particular, I look on Twitter quite a lot, and I feel unproductive when I look at other people's output and what they're, sometimes you see a really valuable conversation happening and loads of discussion around it. And I just sometimes get a bit discouraged with why can't I instantly get that sort of conversation going? And that takes a lot of time to build upon social media that you don't really see.
Yeah. And it's always easy to look at other people and go, oh, I wish I was like that. And social media is also bad for that.
Terrible for that.
But I try and avoid social media during the day as much as possible.
Yeah.
I've got a few apps. I'm using Motion for like work tasks at the moment, which is pretty cool because it tries to schedule them in gaps between your meetings.
Right. Okay.
And it can also like help bunch meetings up together and stuff like that. But it's also got another app which is screen time, which it sort of figures out how long you spend in each tab.
Right.
And if you end up on YouTube, you can say, just let me on for this one video. Like if it's a tech video and it doesn't play on to the other ones and you don't get sucked down like a rabbit hole.
Of you.
Yeah,
YouTube,
that's it. But they're a Y Combinator startup. But I think they're pretty cool. And like all the apps and tech side of productivity and mental health is quite fascinating to me, like the headspaces and stuff.
Yeah.
We're also working with a startup called Wellgood who are in this space. Right. Looking at basically employee mental health. But yeah, it's tricky because everyone's so individual, and I think we're sort of talking from a position of relative power in that I guess we don't have like any illnesses or we don't have families to look after or like elderly relatives and stuff. Like we should be pretty happy, right?
If you look at the de facto standard that everyone's being sold, what happiness is, there should be no stress at all, right? Everything's fine.
It's not really how it works out, is it? Like
no,
the brain has another agenda sometimes.
Anxiety creeps in and all sorts of stuff plays on there. I think it's a good point there, that kind of point of privilege in terms of general good health. And we earn a decent salary in the tech industry. We've got lots of things that should contribute towards good mental health, I guess. But it doesn't, as you said, it doesn't work like that, does it?
Yeah. So your brain will not respond to that. So you need to trick it by like lots of exercise. Or I find a run is really good to sort of clear my head.
Yeah.
That's really good when you've got lots and lots of things going on. Just run, some tunes on, and then everything feels a little bit better. Yeah,
I know that quite a lot of people have taken to that for the past few years. So that whole couch to 5, was it 5K or 10K?
Couch to 5K, yeah. That's how me and Tom got into it.
Yeah, so it's quite popular, wasn't it? And I think was that a BBC thing? Or?
I think it was, yeah. Yeah, you print out a little worksheet, and I think there's an app now, isn't there?
Is there?
Couch to 5K app. Yeah. But yeah, and Strava for me is like that reward, that tick. Yeah. So if I haven't logged it on Strava, have I actually done any exercise?
If you haven't shared it, did it even happen?
Did I even eat that if I haven't posted it on Instagram? So that's sort of like a little reward. Like you see the kilometres per week go up and up, and it feels good to sort of hit your goal.
Tracking the miles.
Yeah. I think, tracking, ticking things off, that's what makes my brain happy,
I think especially in more creative roles as well. Not that, for non-creative roles, it's not an issue, but I think for that creativity to feel like it's flowing, you need to tick things off. You need to see the output almost immediately. You need to craft away at something. Which is why when you look at the kind of smaller tasks that you try and batch in between meetings and other things, it's kind of like that doesn't quite feel as good to me. An email reply. And the other thing about emails and another thing, I think the issue with email is that just because you fire an email out to someone or some company, there's already an expectation of a reply that so they're already demanding some of your time to give them time back.
I do like that it's a slightly slower expectation, maybe a day or two. Some people are obviously on a slightly longer cycle than that. But a Slack message is quite anxiety filling if it's in a DM for me.
Yes.
Because it's only me that can respond to it. So I don't like that at all. So I try and move all conversations into project focus channels so everyone can have a stab at the answer, and it's not on me to answer it. Because I don't necessarily know, or I'm busy, or something else going on.
I think I do think I don't know about you, but on Slack I've got so many, and the UI is impossible to read, where you've got DMs of similar people in lots of different messages.
Oh, when the group DMs happen, that's the worst.
But then why not just create a channel and work in the open? What needs to be private, what needs to be direct.
You can't mute a group DM either.
No, it's hell.
Not that I would do that to people that group DM me, but
I don't think you can leave them either, though.
No,
I'd like the option to leave them.
I'm not relevant to this. Bye.
Unsubscribe.
Because I think the way that I feel most productive is to just remove the blocker that I can as management, and then get the hell out of the way, basically. Otherwise, if I'm required for lots and lots of things in a project, I will end up blocking the project because I'm too busy doing other things.
It's like that. We've talked a bit about it already, but with autonomy and with trying to remove single person dependencies, I think that's a really key point.
Definitely. And reduces anxiety, I suppose. No one wants to be the single point of failure on something, do they? No, absolutely not. I think as well, that point on email, and it definitely for me recently as well, it's been unbearable in LinkedIn messages, where they also send you an email, which is great. But people requesting, can I just book in 15 minutes of your time? Obviously a lot of it's spam and crap, but I do think it's really important to prioritize the platforms and the mediums which you use to communicate with your most valuable people in your not just at work, even just in your lives. I think WhatsApp's pretty bad.
It is.
It's an absolute time sink. The amount of groups, and I enjoy it, but it just takes up probably a lot more time than we think.
You finish work and you're like, okay, well, I'm going to go through the WhatsApp inbox now.
Or you've been in a workshop all day and you check your WhatsApp and you've got like 300 missed messages. You're like, I can't catch up now. You just have to sort of declare WhatsApp bankruptcy. You just tap into it to get rid of the notification and hope that no one said anything if any importance.
If it's something really important, you're like, too long, didn't read. Can you just tell me what the summary is here? You kind of need I hope as AI gets better, you can have that kind of a roll up of what the day's conversation.
Could you just summarize it for me? Oh, that's a really good app idea, actually.
It'll mostly just be 10 cat memes shared and a lot of kind of pointless banter.
I could call it too long, didn't read as well. That'd be ace.
I'm now thinking about how that would be possible with like a WhatsApp app or integration. It's all encrypted, so it'd be quite interesting. Anyway, we digressed. So I guess it's kind of back to what we talked about in that leadership conversation, but in terms of getting out of that space of burnout and feeling that kind of lack of value and productivity, how do we turn it around? Is it a case that we need to create and fence off time for flow state again, or is it that we just need to manage our time? Maybe you have a really strict to-do list, like you mentioned, and if you stray from that, maybe you log that on that so you can see where, so it sounds like Motion or some similar apps are good at telling you when you're about to go down a time sink. No, I think that's a really good idea. For me, I
with the Pomodoro thing, I draw little X's in my notebook, and when I get interrupted, I do a little dash.
So is that like a streak, essentially? Or,
yeah. So try and get as many X's in a row as possible.
Yeah.
And the more you notice when you get interrupted, the more you'll try and prevent yourself getting interrupted, I think.
Yeah.
And I think that's quite important for me because my mind's all over the place most of the time.
Do you ever just sign out of all the things and just go offline?
Yeah, I think that's healthy sometimes, isn't it?
Yeah.
Although I do feel like I need to be on hand in Slack for company stuff.
Yeah.
Which is something I need to get better at.
I guess that if it's urgent, though, someone can call you.
Yeah.
Which I know it takes at least 2 rings to get through to you because you've got Do Not Disturb on all the time.
Yeah.
But I kind of love that because, and especially with some of the new instructions on iOS and Mac OS with the, you can declare different notification settings for different times of day.
Can you? Oh, right, nice.
So you can. I've seen now, and on the new focus mode, you can add a new mode for I'm coding, so only allow these notifications in this app.
Yeah.
And it seems to be you can trigger it when you activate an app. So if you're in Sublime Text or VS Code,
that's cool.
It can turn it on, which seems like a good step in. But you have to spend like a day configuring it. That's the issue.
Yeah. No, I have to play around with that, definitely.
Yeah, it looks good. So one of the things that I've been doing to help recover from that feeling of burnout, and I think it has been just working a lot in general, but it's been trying to learn new skills or trying to focus on side projects.
Yeah.
I don't know if you found that. I think you took up a cooking school, didn't you?
I did a cooking class, a 6-week cooking course, and that the profits went to charity. It's a very nice thing to do.
Who was that by?
Leeds Cooking School.
Nice.
Would recommend.
Yeah.
But yeah, you've been picking up some side project stuff, and you also love to cook as well.
Yeah, also food related. I made a little kind of recipes blog. It's the most lo-fi thing you'll ever see, but it kind of kept me honest and kept me on a routine.
Is that just HTML into a Sublime?
Yeah. It was great. Because I was messing around with 11T. I think that's how you say it.
Right.
Because obviously we've tried all the static site generations tools, but
Hugo.
Or literally every one of them. And I think I rewrote every one of them in every one of them as well, just to get the feel for it.
Yeah.
But no, it's nice, and then you get a bit of both, don't you? Because it feels like you're doing coding, even though you're just writing Markdown.
Yeah.
But,
I mean, that's the first rule of writing your own blog. You have to spend a few days setting up some sort of static site generator.
Yeah, procrastination is key there.
And then by the time you get around to writing the first post, you've lost all motivation.
Yeah.
I need to pick up my Medium, actually. I haven't done anything on that for a while. I think my last post was I compiled a SNES music emulator to JavaScript.
I remember that,
using Emscripten, which is insane. But
that's a good little. Well, it's not even little. It could be a massive project if you wanted it to be, couldn't it? So.
Yeah, that was a hangover day. Just trying to. I think a hangover day is good for coding because it just keeps your mind off the hangover, and you just try stuff that you wouldn't usually. I think. Yeah,
I think weird things can happen when you're hungover and coding.
Yeah.
I was playing around with, I think it's Sonic Pi, which is Ruby-based sound generation. So
nice.
It's like a sampler that you can augment in Ruby.
Oh, you sort of live code. I think I've seen some videos of it before.
It was awesome. And when you're a little bit hungover, it's just really good because it satisfies the kind of audio-visual kind of thing.
Nice mix between your DJing passion and programminess.
Yeah. Well, I want to try and do... for the next TAE conference, I want to try and do something where we take input from the environment and create kind of on the fly audio visuals that can play into it.
Oh, amazing.
So maybe something with that is possible.
I don't know if you've been to Beyond Tellerrand, but they do a thing where they sample the speakers that are playing and then make it into like a song.
It looks great.
Yeah.
I love that. I don't think I'm quite there yet, but I think that's where I ripped the idea off.
Yeah, I think that was really cool.
Yeah, it's definitely cool. I saw Mark Thiel actually just posted this. I think it's yesterday. It's this weekend, just passed, hasn't it?
Yes.
It looked fantastic.
Yeah, I'm sad to have not been able to go.
Yeah.
He quite likes to drink, does Mark?
Yeah, well, and also I guess the first real proper conference that most people are going to. You know, everyone's starting to open up again, go back to normal things. And
yeah. Do you think that's going to improve people's mental health? More in-person events and things, or is it going to add to the anxiety of missing out and not contributing?
I think it'll do both. because I think, me included, I think a lot of people aren't ready yet to be in environments where there's a lot of people. Although I was chatting to Phil Hawksworth, and he was saying, I forget the conference. Sadly, I'll try and dig it out in the show notes. But he was saying, it was a really respectful conference in terms of everyone was kind of urged to wear masks when moving. They had badges that said, I'd like you to keep your distance with me.
Nice.
So I think that's quite a nice touch as people kind of understand where they're at with it.
Yeah, I think people are being a lot more understanding and mindful of other people. I think, that makes sense, having the badges and stuff.
Yeah, I like that idea. I think because I'm thinking about a hybrid version for the conference next year. I'm really ready to get back into doing conferences again.
Yeah. Can I just get one that says "fuck off"?
Slack offline kind of emoji.
Yeah. Leave me alone. Unless you've got a beer.
Yeah, maybe like a few beers deep. That might get ripped off possibly.
Yeah.
But
that's what I feel like with networking. The first half hour of it for me is pure pain.
Yeah.
Because I'm not naturally extrovert, I don't think.
Yeah.
And I don't like talking to strangers.
Yeah.
But then after a couple of beers, it's fine.
Yeah, I don't know if it's just that you care less. But I definitely I went to Leeds International Festival event when it was on a few months ago, and I'd seen the organizer of it for the first time in a long time, and it caught me off guard because he was like, "Hi, how you doing?" I was like, "Oh fuck, I don't know. I don't know how to engage with this again.
Do I hug you or?"
Yeah, and then we settled on a handshake. Even that, I thought, I'm not sure how I feel about that at this point. But,
I keep going in for awkward elbow bumps still, and then I'm not really. Don't know.
But it's kind of like when you're the minority again, which I feel like in some circumstances people still haven't figured masks out.
I've been going to restaurants and I still wear my mask on the way in, and no one else is doing that. It appears
the pandemic's gone now. We're done.
But I'm still a little bit apprehensive, obviously, because. Yeah,
it's weird, isn't it? And that's those kind of personal preferences. I don't want to, what's been really empowering for people, I think, is the decision on their own mental health to go, I'm staying at home because I feel comfortable here and that's what I want to do.
Yeah.
And that's why I think it's really important that we strike the balance as we start to open things up, that if we're doing a hybrid conference, the hybrid version needs to be at least as good as the in-person.
Yes.
So I saw with that event that I was chatting to Phil about, they sent delivery vouchers to people to have lunch at home.
Oh, I like that. That's
so
nice.
You're still included in the process.
Yeah.
I just think things like that are really important.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I went to a park run the other day, and they were talking about being mindful of people's space and just not spitting and things like that.
Yeah.
Pretty obvious things, but but I did notice that there's not a lot of people coming to them anymore. There's like all the fast people are back, all the really keen runners are back, but the older people, the people that used to make my position in the park run look better, are all gone. So I'm towards the end again. But I wonder if people that are more vulnerable are just staying home and just fed up with people not wearing masks. And
that's the thing. I mean, there's a lot of circumstances where that's taken out of your control. That must be really detrimental to. Well, it absolutely is, isn't it? It's detrimental to people's mental health.
Yeah, definitely. If they don't feel like they can get up and out and into town and stuff.
And I think that's so. In terms of like productivity and that kind of where you're at with the pandemic, I think there is an interesting misnomer around productivity being physically somewhere. I think the pandemic's done quite a good thing to proving remote working works.
Yeah.
So I guess the thing that's a question on quite a lot of people's minds at the moment is, well, what does the transition back into normal look like? Is it just a hybrid way of working forever now? And I know some companies are towing the line, which is you must be in 5 days a week.
Yeah.
Some are saying we don't care.
Yeah, I think the companies that say you must be in 5 days a week are going to lose their staff quite quickly.
Yeah.
And that's an error.
Yeah.
So don't do that. But equally, encouraging people to come in and have that FaceTime, in-person workshops are really good fun.
Yeah.
It is nice to see people in real life.
Yeah.
But it is also nice to put your washing on while you're at home.
That has made a huge difference, I think.
Especially house tasks,
Just like, while you're having lunch, just doing the dishwasher or something.
Which
things.
You wouldn't be able to do if you commuted home for lunch and did a task and went back in. It wouldn't make sense, would it?
No, well, I remember when I used to commute to Manchester, that was I think it was like an hour and a half each way. So that's 3 hours of my day.
Yeah.
It's not an insignificant amount of time.
Yeah.
And then you get coughed on in the train. It's not always the nicest experience, is it?
Yeah, no, it's not. The train makes me quite uncomfortable when it's absolutely rammed, which it was when I went on it recently. And people don't care.
No.
They're not wearing masks.
No. I think it's tricky as well because on the train I was back from London, actually, the train was over capacity because of cancellations and stuff.
Yeah.
So there's no masks. Every seat was busy, standing up.
Yeah.
It's like, I appreciate that there's always difficulties with transport, and I know a lot of people working very hard to make things run smoothly, but...
Yeah, I think strangely for me, the buses have been better. Like, people wearing masks and spacing out a bit.
Yeah.
I think it's been quite good. Been getting the 36 into town. That's the posh one where Harry Gratian is on the voiceover.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. Get a little phone charger and stuff. It's quite nice.
You get like one byte faster Wi-Fi on.
Oh, yeah. Wi-Fi that's slower than your 4G. It's a nice thought, though.
I saw that Airbnb is starting to verify Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
I saw that.
Yeah, that's good.
Big news.
Yeah. So you could work from an Airbnb.
Yeah, me and Els went to Cornwall for a week, and just being by the sea and hearing the sea and going for a walk was the best mental health thing I've done in this year, probably. Yeah.
Well, one of our staff, he's from the Bahamas originally, and so he's going over Christmas to the Bahamas.
Nice.
And part holiday, part work, and he did a trip to Bahamas before and worked it.
Yeah,
bit of a time zone difference, but it's just remote working.
Yeah,
but with really nice sunshine. A bit jealous.
Yeah, that's a fantastic idea.
Yeah.
So when's Parallax Bar?
The Bahama office will be opening soon. Yeah,
Bahamas. Sorry. That's a good little remote office. I'm into that.
Yeah, well, we've got some people down south as well. I think I mentioned in a previous poddy.
Yeah.
But you can just work from anywhere, and people that do like to travel a bit, that's going to open up lots of opportunities for them, I think.
Yeah, I do wonder whether that's, because people are definitely focusing more on the mental health moving forward. I wonder if that, as part of the way the market is at the moment, that kind of like, we'll give you some people are funding home office setups.
Yeah.
Maybe that home office could be a remote home office yourself, where you can just be what do they call them, satellite offices, where you can just go anywhere.
Yeah. Work by the beach for a week or something.
So the way to solve your mental health and productivity issues is working by the beach.
Yeah. Or ideally not working by the beach.
Yeah, well, that's a funny thing, because one of the things I've noticed this year is the amount of leave that people have taken is nowhere near the usual process.
Some people haven't taken any holiday days.
No.
And that's really bad.
Yeah, so I've actually had to force people to go, you actually can't come into work this week, because you clearly need some time off.
Because I think legally you do have to have a certain amount, but they reduced that, didn't they? And allowed you to roll some over. It's quite complex, the rules. But I don't think that's a good idea.
No. And what countries just passed that rule about you can't bosses texting their staff outside of work, and that is now finable?
Yeah, well, France were quite heavy-handed on that early on, weren't they?
Yeah.
You can't check your company emails outside of work hours.
Which is great.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty good idea.
Unless you're chasing like a tender that has to close on a Thursday evening.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's different when you run your own business, isn't it? And that expectation shouldn't be on your employees.
Yes, it's tricky. I think you have to put a lot of weight on your own shoulders if you're running a business. And you don't want to just pile that onto someone else.
No. Well, that's the thing. I think a lot of the time that happens, there's a difference between empowering a team and putting that pressure and stress on them. I think there's very different things, aren't they?
Yeah, and I think you can easily tell the difference when you see them face to face. I do feel it's quite difficult to gauge people's mood and stuff over Zoom.
Yeah.
Especially if you've got cameras off. Yeah.
It's hard, because some people, when we went remote, never put cameras on. So you just think, well, that's their preference, that's okay. But some people who might always have the camera on, then they have them off, you're like, oh,
are you having a bad day?
Yeah, or they just got out of the shower. It's hard to tell, isn't it?
Yeah. Mine's usually just been for a run, so I'm really sweaty and horrible.
It's not a good look for the camera.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a good thing to kind of, I guess we're almost at time, but, finish on in terms of looking for those visual cues and looking after each other. One thing that I've said to the team that I work with is, as it does get darker and as the kind of seasons change, seasonal affective disorder and everything is a thing. How do you keep an eye on each other? And what are you doing with your team to make sure we kind of check in on them?
Yeah, I mean, obviously we've got the one-to-ones, which I've mentioned previously.
Yeah.
There's a big old chat about the seasonal affective disorder lamps that you can get. I think a few of our staff have got those.
Have you tried them?
I haven't. Well, I say I haven't, but I've seen one. And there's, if you go to, is it Brudding Park? They've got a room which is like a sad lamp room almost.
Oh, right.
And it's like a fake sun, and it's amazing. And you can just chill out in there.
Yeah, well, I got, at the start of the pandemic, I got those, what are they called? The kind of lights that make you look good on camera.
Oh,
or
nice.
make you good, as good as you could.
Like a ring light.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There's there's some good ones from Elgato. I can't remember the name of the spotlights, but I'm still as miserable as I was before.
Miserable but better lit.
Yeah, you can see how miserable I am in high def.
Well,
yeah.
That's great.
But I have heard some of those aids do work. I've been chatting to a few people and they said that they have really helped. And some people are taking them into the office with them, which is great.
Oh, nice.
So it's definitely, like a lot of things, it's not for everyone, but I think some of those things can help.
Yeah. Animals help as well, I think.
Yeah. Definitely.
My cat is ace.
Yeah. I mean, Louis swings both ways for me. Sometimes he makes me raging angry.
Sometimes the cause of your stress. But I think he's peacefully sleeping through the podcast today. Yeah. We've got a few woofs in previous episodes, but today he's been quite chill. Yeah, his mental health seems to be absolutely fine. I mean, he gets fed and he goes on walks, so I don't think he's too stressed out at the moment. Ace.
But it's interesting, actually. That is a good point with the effect on people's and their pets' anxiety. Raising Louis during lockdowns had an interesting effect on him being in the house a lot, I think. So
and not seeing other dogs and things like that.
Yeah, not doing so many RAS does affect him. But
being on Zoom calls. And
but if it's affecting them, and it's affecting us, and we need to probably pay attention to that.
Yeah, definitely.
So that's it for today's episode. A huge thank you for listening to Off Script by Hey Radio. Do check out the other Hey content online, as well as some of the fantastic work Parallax are doing over at parallax.co.uk. Hit subscribe to get more of this podcast content in the future, and join us in a few weeks as we tackle our next topic.